Oh, yes.
Her heart is broken.
If you're just tuning in, this is the C. Allen Morning Show. Our Breaking the Cycle series has now come to an end. Today we're discussing breaking the cycle, violence against kids. Sometimes you have to say to yourself, what about the children?
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes we take the little ones for granted. Today what we're going to do is we're going to open the phone lines. We're going to talk about what about the children? How do we break the cycle in reference to violence against the little kids? One of the things I tell you, well, first let me start off. Let me go back. Good morning, everyone. This is C. Allen, Trendy Lindy. Good morning, Trendy.
Good morning, C. Allen. Good morning, everyone.
When I tell you today, everyone, I know today is supposed to be my favorite things day, but because of what has transpired in Newtown, Connecticut, I thought that we definitely should focus today on what about the children? How can we break the cycle of violence towards our kids? I want to hear from you. 1-800-450-7876. I need you all to call me today because I tell you, I'm one of those persons, Trendy, that whenever something very tragic happens, I'm the one that stays in front of the television and I'm glued to CNN and I'm just looking at and listening to the tragedy over and over and over again, and I have to somehow get myself together and break the cycle. But to hear, I was sitting in, matter of fact, my new favorite spot, Carolina Kitchen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I was sitting in Carolina Kitchen, and Trendy Lindy and MD and I looked up at the television, and there was an incident that happened in Newtown, Connecticut, where a 20-year-old gunman came in with 3 different an assault rifle and 2 handguns, and just started. Where first of all they said that he busted his way through the front entrance, and then began to just spray bullets. And I said, Trendy, my God, when I looked on yesterday and saw that all of them was ages 6 and 7 years old, I started thinking about my niece Kendall. I started thinking about my nephew Dylan. I started thinking about my niece Peyton. I started thinking about my niece Samara. And I said to myself, God be with the family.
Yes, my God.
I said to myself, I cannot even imagine being in that particular place and time where those poor mothers and fathers in the firehouse waiting to get word if their loved one was still alive. I said, God be with the family. But what I want to talk about today is because God is going to be with the family and those angels are now in heaven. But I think we need to talk about what's going on right here in the nation's capital. What's going on on the streets of Chicago? What's going on just in the streets of Philadelphia, or just the mindset of our people? Today we're talking about breaking the cycle of violence towards our kids, and I start the show, Trendy, by saying it starts with how we are parenting our children.
Yes.
Do we buy our children guns, play toy guns for Christmas? Do we sit them in front of the video game where they shooting up each other on the video game? Are they watching those? Because I'm noticing that, the younger kids, they love Scarface and all of that. I'm having a problem with how we're glorifying the mobsters and the gangsters and when you look at the videos, they want to look just like those people. And when you listen to the words of the gangster rap, they're talking about selling drugs and cocaine and all of that. And all of that comes together. My question today for my C. Allen Morning Show listeners is, how do we break the cycle of violence towards our kids? I feel, Trendy, that I have 2 daycare centers. the first thing that I said to myself was, we need to beef up security around our daycare centers. And then I thought about, what about the mother bringing in little Johnny, cussing at her, screaming and hollering, get your A in here. What's taking you so long? Blah, 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 blah.
My goodness.
And one of the things I want to share with you is we have no clue to what kind of damage and what are we doing, what are we birthing in our children when they see violence in the household, when the parents are violent towards them.
Yes.
How many students, graduates that I've had that have said to me that my mother will punch me in the face, or my father would beat me up, or I got a better one, Trendy. I have students now who are saying, me and my mother got into a fight. Me and my father got into a fight. What is going on? How can we break the cycle? 1-800-450-7876. 1-800-450-7876. Y'all going to have to call in and help me today, because I tell you, I don't have any children. I have a Chauncey and Chelsea, which is 2 dogs. I have no children. But I oftentimes explain and tell my mother, who's well aware, that we have to be careful what we say around children, what we do in front of children, how we treat other children in front of children.
Yes.
You know, people say, and I know because my mother get upset every time I bring it up, so Joyce Bennett, please forgive me today. But, you know, people have said to me, they said, I mean, not people said, but I can remember trending my grandfather coming to my Aunt Louise's house. And I can remember me and my brother sitting there, and my 4 other cousins, and how my grandfather gave $1 bill to the 4 other cousins, but didn't give me and Robert anything. And I was sitting there waiting, and I couldn't understand. And then, of course, as kids, you know, they running around, jumping around, and they showing me the dollar, putting it in my face, and all that kind of stuff. And to this day, and I know that this had to have been 35, almost 40 years ago, and to this day, I still remember it.
Yeah.
Let's go to the phone lines. Latoya, good morning. Welcome to the Sea Island Morning Show. I need you to help me today. How do we break the cycle of violence towards our kids?
Good morning. First of all, as parents, we should not buy our children play guns. I am totally against it. Once you start off with that play gun, it winds up being a real gun. We need to be strict on our children. We need to talk instead of hollering. I'm a child care, I work in child care, and the parents holler at their children. Don't holler. Just talk to them. They need that talk.
That's
not
right.
hollering and pulling the children. I look at some of these parents and I just shake my head. All they need is a hug.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much, Latoya.
All right.
All right, everybody. 1-800-450-7876. My question today is, how can we break the cycle of violence towards kids?
My goodness, this is a very, very touchy subject for me. I personally do not have children, but I am always in a child's life. I'm currently helping my sister raise her son and her daughter, and it's just a very touchy subject. I've been a foster mom. I always have children because I love children. Children are very innocent, very impressionable, you know.
Yes, and Trinity, not to cut you off, but that is the part that I have the most problem with, and that is what is going on in the mind of anyone that will go in and shoot 6 and 7-year-olds. I'm not saying it should have been 16, 17, should have been any of them, but the little 6 and 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we got to talk about too is they talked about a lot of people have been discussing how they should show the victims so America can actually see for themselves, show the dead bodies lying there. And I tell you, I said, Trendy, when I just saw the pictures, and last night, my Sea Island Morning Show, folks, when I saw the picture, or when I saw the video of the little black girl playing with her brother. Her brother was playing the piano and she was singing a gospel hymn. 6 and 7 years old that are gone. How can you go into an elementary school? So we're going to go to a commercial break, but I want you all to call me because there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about. We got to talk about what's going on with the mental psyche of our children. Some of us know we got special children. Mm-hmm. And what are we doing to meet those needs? What kind of time are we spending with our children? So we're not only going to talk about the ones that are gone, but we're going to talk about the shooter because he was a child.
Yes, he was.
And what do we do to kind of work with that? So listen, we're going to go to commercial break. 1-800-450-7876. This is the Sea Island Morning Show, Breaking the Violence. We'll to these messages. Oh, yes. All right, everyone, we're back here live. Yes, Yolanda Adams. What about the children? We're back here live here on the Sea Island Morning Show today. If you're just tuning into the show, yes, the show is all about beauty, fashion, education, all that great kind of stuff. Yours truly, Sea Island here, along with Trendy Lindy. Today we're talking about what about the children. This is our final episode of Breaking the Cycle. We talked about breaking the cycle in reference to hair breakage. We talked about breaking the cycle in reference to damage of relationships, Trendy was talking about. And our final episode, due to what's been happening, is breaking the cycle, violence towards kids. We have Lily on the line. Good morning, Lily. Talk to us. Encourage Sea Island today. How can we break the cycle of violence towards our kids?
Well, first of all, good morning. As my heart still breaks over this, I pray that we as a people, we're supposed to come together in crisis, not in reference to this. Mm-hmm. We're not coming together as a whole, as a unit. So the gun laws, yes, are supposed to help protect us from these things, but apparently it's not working. So now we need to figure out what we can do in reference to breaking this cycle. And I figured we need to go to the NRA and handle this because they're just sitting there probably laughing at us because, oh, wow, it's another senseless violence, but it's not against African Americans now. It's against their own people. So now, what do? These children died for what? Nothing. Okay. And there's no way around it. There's no way going back. We have to go forward and move forward to fix this issue before another one of these things happen. And it's not more than just children. Okay, so let me ask you this. Now, the thing about the NRA,
Lily, talk to me about the fact that regardless of how many or what kind of gun laws they will put in place, most of the guns, I don't know in your neighborhood, but in my neighborhood, most of the guns on the streets are illegal guns, that people are selling and people are using. Most of those guns are not registered guns. Mm-hmm. So what I'm just thinking is that you have to also think like in Connecticut, they have some of the toughest gun laws, in the country. And yet this happened in Newtown, Connecticut. So I don't really know what the NRA can do or can't do. I think it starts with us in our homes because a report that I read was that the mother was taking him on a gun range, showing him how to shoot and everything just so they can kind of bond with their relationship because she knew that he was troubled. So to me, if you knew that he was troubled or special or whatever you want to call it, what you're doing, taking him to a gun range to practice talking about bonding, take him to Carolina Kitchen, but not to a gun range.
I agree with that. That's not how you bond with a child. If you ask me, that's idiotic and stupid. What person in their right mind going to take their child to a gun range? That doesn't make sense. That actually causes more of a problem.
All right, we got to go. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. This is the Sea Island Morning Show. 1-800-450-7876. We want to know from you, from my listeners, because the great thing about a lot of my listeners is they're seasoned listeners. I'm in my early 40s, and a lot of my listeners, some of them are twice my age. So I want you to call me this morning, 1-800-450-7876. How can we break the cycle of violence towards our kids? We didn't do any announcements, so let me just quickly go to our announcements while we're waiting on someone to call us. One, on this coming Thursday is the open house at the Bennett Career Institute. If there's anyone that's interested in coming. If you know someone that's interested in cosmetology, barbering, managers, instructors, then you need to call our admissions department, 202-526-1400, extension 15 or 17. And also, in the same line of what about the children, on this coming Monday, Christmas Eve, the Sea Island Salon, Martin Luther King location, the entire salon is going to, along with the Bennett Career Institute, we're going to Berry Farms. We're going to Berry Farms to beautify the children. We're going to go to Berry Farms and we're going to beautify the children. Trendy Lynn is going to tell you a little more about that. And we're so excited to be a part of something so awesome. How we break the cycle is the Sea Island Morning Show. It's more than talk. It's about action.
That's right. And we're excited about going into the Berry Farm community. We will be there at 11 o'clock to set up all types of we're going to have music and food, and we're going to set up our tables with curling irons and clippers, and we are sure that the children will line up from 12 years old and younger to get free haircuts and free hairstyles. We are so excited to be able to give back to the children during this holiday season, because this season it's not about the trees and Santa and all of that. It's about the birth of Christ, and it's about love, and it's about giving back. So we're excited about this. We've been passing out flyers, and we've heard a little buzz around the community. They are ready. They're shampooing their hair and getting ready to come in. But we're not only going to do their hair, we're going to touch the children. We're going to love on the children. We're going to tell them how special they are. We're going to, ask them what do they plan to be when they grow up. We're going in there to make a difference in that community. And we know, it's just, it's not a real huge community, but if we can just touch one of the children and give them something to think about, to just impact them with some love, we're just so grateful to be able to use what we have in our hands to be a blessing.
Yes, and also what we're doing is we are taking we have a toy drive at the Bennett Career Institute, so we want you to stop by 700 Monroe Street Northeast and bring your toys for the unfortunate or for the less fortunate kids at Berry Farms. If you cannot stop by, call us now at the 202-526-1400, extension 42. Rashawn is standing by the phones. Make a donation. It could be whatever you want to give us. Swipe. We'll put it on your credit card, or you can come into the school just so we can be a big blessing to them. So not only are we going to do their hair and we're going to cut all the little boys, but then Santa is going to come and we want to give everyone a gift. So we're going to talk about it all through the show, but let's go back to the phone lines. All right, everyone, if you're just tuning in, this is the Sea Island Morning Show. What about the children? How can we break the cycle of violence towards our kids? Caller, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm awesome. What is your take? How can we break the violence? How can we break the cycle of violence towards our kids?
Well, I'm going to tell you what the problem is. You can't break the cycle. See, we live in a world that sees all this garbage, and since the inception of America, you had these problems. And nobody wants to stand up and understand this country was born on a false foundation. If you build a house on a false foundation, what happens? It crumbles.
That's right.
As long as they're in America that refuses to live up to its creed, its constitution, you will always have this problem. Now, as long as money's involved, RNA is very wealthy. They donate to the people who make the rules. They would never outlaw guns in this country because country was founded with guns.
All right.
So we are fighting, you are fighting not a winning battle. You hope you keep it to a minimal. And see, this boy that preyed on these young kids, somebody had put it in his mind, and he had built up that he was either inferior or superior to them. Mm-hmm. Until people in the world over, see, we export this type of stuff. When America go bomb Iraq, they're killing innocent babies because they don't know who they're bombing on their ground. Mm-hmm. So as long as we export violence is coming back to us right here on this soil.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. We thank you so much for calling. All right. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's go to Jeremy. Today, Jeremy, we're talking about how can we break the cycle of violence towards our kids. The last caller said that we won't be able to break that cycle. Do you think we can break the cycle, Jeremy? And if so, how?
Yes, of course we can. Well, first let me say good morning to both you and Ms. Linda.
Good morning.
But yes, I definitely feel we can break that cycle. As a father, I believe that you have to teach your children. One, the father needs to be in the life of the child. Two, if the father needs to teach them the right way to do things, the mother needs to teach the child the right way to do things. If we teach the people as a child as the right way to do things, then we wouldn't have to worry about some of the violence that's going on today in the world.
Okay, well, wait a minute. But let me ask you this, though, Jeremy. Now, you said that the parents would teach the child all of that. But what about the mother and father that's dysfunctional? Because I'm seeing a lot of 20 and 25 and 30-year-old mothers who are cussing their children out, who punching them in the face and all that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking that if the child sees that, then the child is expecting that, and the child's also going to give off that same thing that they see.
You're absolutely right. If you give a child that image of that's how you're supposed to be as an adult, as a parent in life, then that's what they're going to give off. With me personally, as a father, I give off the image of being a very professional father, very understanding. Yes, I'm very disciplined with my children, but at the same time, they understand that I give them that love, care, and affection that they need.
Mm-hmm. I want to say, Mr. Jeremy Bimbo, you are one of our newest barbers at the Sea Island Salon at MLK, and you were the first person that I went to when it comes to the Pamper Day for the kids at Berry Farms, and you know, you were all for it. Why did you agree to it on Christmas Eve? That could be a very busy time for you to make some money and, you know, be in a salon and really cut some hair. Why did you agree to, you know, cut the children's hair for free?
Mm-hmm. And Jeremy, I want you to think about that answer. We're going to put Jeremy on hold, and we're going to go to James, the other caller. And Jeremy, when we come back from commercial, we want you to answer that. So hold the line, Jeremy. So James, talk to us today. We're talking about how can we break the cycle of violence towards our kids.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call. I was listening to a gentleman just a while ago, and what we do as a people, they have what they call a self-prophesying or whatever that is, but we don't believe that we can change. Number one, believe that we can change, and the average person you talk to do not believe. This country was based on violence, and all that kind of crap like that. Okay, so what? So what? They ain't got nothing to do with me right this minute.
All right.
They got nothing to do with it, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is that I'd be willing to bet you right now, if you, on one of your shows, you call out and ask people to call in and tell you what is love, I'd be willing to bet you right this minute, you come up with 100,000 different reasons, and all of them is not love. So my thing right now is love. That's all we can do.
Awesome.
We don't know how to love each other.
All right.
That's right.
And that's it. We got to go to commercial break. But James, you said it. All right, everybody. James said we need to start with love.
Yes.
We're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to pick back up with Jeremy and talking about helping the kids at Berry Farms. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, everyone. We're back here live. Here, Washington, D.C., the Sea Island Morning Show, Sea Island Trendy Lindy. We're going to pick back up with Jeremy, but we want you to call us. This is some good stuff here, 1-800-450-7876. I want to hear from all of my wonderful listeners. Today we're talking about how we can break the cycle of violence against our children. This Monday coming, we're going to put our talk into action. Bennett Career Institute, the award-winning Bennett Career Institute, and the Sea Island Salons and Spas on Martin Luther King 2100. We're going to go over to Berry Farms. The reason why we chose Berry Farms is because that's the area where we service on the Martin Luther King Avenue Salon. And we wanted to do something for the families over there. So Trendy Lindy and the team came up with, it wasn't Sea Island, but I tell you, that's why Trendy Lindy here, because that's how Sea Island like to work. But Trendy Lindy and the team, they came up with, let's go over there on Christmas Eve and let's bring them some toys. Let's cut all the little boys' hair. We're not doing no gang signs and all that. We're doing regular haircuts. And for the little girls, we're asking their parents to have their hair shampooed and blow dried. Now, if you're not a part of Berry Farms community, you cannot run over there with your child, drop them off so you can go Christmas shopping. No, ma'am, no, sir. This is for the Berry Farm community. But what we will do is you can always email me at theCallenMorningshow@gmail. And that is an opportunity if you want us to come to your neighborhood free of charge to just give back to the community, because that's what we do. For those of you, we want you to bring toys by the Bennett Career Institute. Come in, get your hair done if you want, and bring some toys. If you cannot come by the school this week, call Rashawn now at 202-526-1400, extension 42, and just let him swipe your credit card, give some kind of donation, $10, whatever you want to give us, just so we can make sure that we be a blessing to the children. All right, Jeremy, we're back with Jeremy. Linda had asked you questions about on Christmas Eve. You could be really busy, but instead you are choosing to go to Berry Farms to work with the kids. Talk to us.
Well, yes, I'm one of the first people she asked about it. When she told me about it, I jumped right on it because of the fact that I believe it's something that a way to give back to the community. It's about sowing a seed with children that are less fortunate. They don't see positive influences in their life, and they'll necessarily get a haircut whenever they every time their parents can't always afford to give them a haircut. So for me, it's about giving back to the community, I'm working in, and just people in general that's less fortunate than I am.
Another thing that I just want to say, C. Allen and I, we really appreciate you, Mr. Bimbo. When I came to you about even being a barber at the salon, one of the first things that you did, you thought, you listened to what I said, but you said out loud, okay, I'm going to check it out, but I need to find out about child care. Where you were currently barbering, you had, the child care covered, but you weren't really eager to move to a place if you weren't going to be able to have sufficient child care for your child. And I thought to myself, I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, wow, that's an awesome father, to consider where he works according to, finding care for his child. So we appreciate you as a barber, always being there to help whenever we need. We have function all the time, and you're always there helping. But and also on the personal side, how you are with your children. So you're doing a great job, and we look forward to our long-lasting business relationship.
And then let me say this, Mr. Bimbo, because we had to get back to the topic. But let me just say this. Trendy hit it right on the head. I noticed how on some Saturdays your daughter is there. You're actually doing your own daughter's hair. You the interaction that you have with your daughter. And I just admonish all the fathers that are listening today. Our topic is, how can we break the cycle of violence against children? And it starts with being there for the children. Yes. So, Jeremy, I just wanted to say, none of this planned or nothing, but I just wanted to say that you should be proud of yourself. You're a little off upstairs, but you
all of us are.
Yeah, and Linda loved to remind me that, because I tell Linda she crazy as a kooky bird, and she say, so are you, Seattle. But Jeremy, I just wanted to share with you that, I do think that it's awesome when I look at people like you, when I look at my brother Robert Bennett, and with me not having any kids, I can't help but to just say, hats off to the fathers that are really being fathers. That's Thank you so much, Jeremy, for calling, and we're definitely going to see you on Monday, Christmas Eve, at Berry Farms, where we're able to be a blessing to the community. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Have a good evening.
Okay.
Have a good day.
All right, everyone. So what we're doing is we are talking about, what about the children? How can we break the cycle of violence? So, Trendy, let me ask you this now. It's a touchy subject for you, but I wanted to know, what is your take on, let's say that you didn't have the best growing up experience. How do you break the cycle? Or do how do you break the cycle of, not your mother not hugging you and not telling she loved you, all that kind of stuff? how did you break the cycle, or is the cycle steadily, or is it an
ongoing thing?
Yeah, talk to me.
Well, that's good, C. Allen. Well, like you said, growing up, I didn't have a very good childhood, in my opinion. I know my mother would say that she did her best, but I really didn't. I recall growing up, I believe I was in the 4th grade. My mother was so emotionally distant. Like C. Allen said, I have never heard my mother say, "I love you." Never. She has never put her arms around me and hugged me. And to some people, when I told Miss C. Allen that, he was like looking at me like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So it can cause a lot of damage, a lot of scars, a lot void in your life and things like that. And I often say, if it had not been for my grandmother, who was there to pick up the pieces. God always have a ram in the bush. It may not be the parent that's there to, love you and do the things, but God will usually send someone else to show love and to take care of you. And for that, instead of me growing up being hateful and evil, I believe I'm the absolute opposite. Like I said, I'm very instrumental in my niece and nephew life. Really, I'm like their mother. There's times that I've raised them. They've actually lived with me. I had to pay for daycare, everything out of my pocket. But I believe if I can, do what my grandmother did for me, that they have a chance on, coming out to be a productive citizen. My niece and nephew, they actually live in Berry Farms, and that's where I got the idea. When I go to pick them up on the weekends and during the week, I see all these children running around with their heads nodding, and, they just in the street, and it's just a whole lot and I just wanted to do something for the other ones. I just didn't want to do something for my niece and nephew, but that's how we came up with it. But my niece and nephew, father, he is in jail for life. So they are missing that male part that all kids need, a mother and a father. But back to myself, I was able to turn things around through God, more so than anything. And then God provided my grandmother. So for some of you who you see these children and you know that they're not your children, but all of these children, they're our children. Like you, C. Allen, you don't have personal children, but every Thursday you are talking to children, young adults, mentoring, motivating, encouraging them. Get a plan, get a vision, get a dream. You can do it. You tell your story, so you don't have children, but you really do. Mm-hmm. And you love on people on a daily basis. And sometimes that's what a person needs. We just need someone.
That's right. And you know what I think about, Linda? I think about, and I do not attend as much as I should. Mm-hmm. But I can't stop but to think about Greater Mount Calvary Holy Church and my pastor, Bishop Dr. Alfred Owens. And I can remember over 30 years ago, I can remember being 12 years old. And I wanted to go to church every day because the church was my escape route. The church was my safe haven. The church is where I could go, where I could feel the love and the attention that I didn't think that I was receiving. Mm-hmm. And my mother loved me, and of course she did everything she could, but she was just one person. Mm-hmm. And I was going to church every single day. So after a while, Alonzo, I started putting on my linen pants, and this is wintertime. Mm-hmm. I would never forget, my pastor came over to me and said, "What is that you have on?" And I said, I'm looking like, no, I don't know. And I had on white linen or something like that. And my pastor said, "You don't wear that in the wintertime." Mm-hmm. My pastor said, I never forget, he says, "I'm going to come and get you Tuesday at so-and-so, such and such." But I will never forget, he took me to Silver Spring. Mm-hmm. And he purchased me some pants, pants so I can continue to come to church every single day. Wow. So I said that to say, we run out and we try to do stuff, but a lot of times we try to do gifts and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of times it takes a lot of times, Trendy, it takes spending time with a person. It takes training someone. Ever since that, I would never forget. One more story. I would never forget the time that I didn't have a coat. And my pastor walked by me, and he had a bad trench coat. It's back in them days where the guys wore the long, full-length tan coats. Them coats was bad, looking bad trench coats. And I said, Pastor, that coat, I was like 16 then. I said, Pastor, that's a bad coat. He took it off and he gave it to me.
Wow.
Right then and there. And I think that a lot of times the way I am is because of the mentorship that was bestowed on me through my pastor. So that's why I'm talking to our listeners. When we say how we can break the cycle, and the gentleman said we can't, I disagree with that. One way that we can break the cycle is being a mentor.
That's right.
Get into a kid's life, talk to a child, get into a kid's life, try to help that person along the way. So when we talk about today on the C. Allen Morning Show, what about the children? We're talking about how can we grab these folks. The first thing I said, Alonzo, when I really started making some real money, when I really, the folks at the school, because I'm a school owner, think I'm rich. But when I really become rich, the first thing I'm going to do is get about me. I'm going to be, I don't know what that lady was who here about every time we turn around, she kept bringing home kids. She kept adopting kids. The lady with the bananas. What's her name? I can't remember. The lady who danced with the bananas on it. Call and tell me what her name is. But anyway, I think I'm going to adopt me about 15 kids.
Wow.
I got you. All right, everybody. What about the children? This is the C. Allen Morning Show. C. Allen, Trendy, Lindy. We got to take a break. We'll be right back after these messages. All right, everyone. It was Josephine Baker. I thought about it, but thank you, my listeners. They texted me, Josephine Baker. Yes, Josephine Baker. Thank you so much. The banana lady was Josephine Baker. Yeah, Josephine Baker in her autobiography, every time you turn around, she had brought home a new kid. Everywhere she went, different countries. Wow. Yeah, she came home with a different child. So, I just often say that I just think that it's important that we think about people that are less fortunate, or we think about the ones that are helpless. And that's why I tell all of you, it's all about how we treat our children. A lot of times, I have, and I understand very, very well, Lindy, about the people that are in jail and what they do to molesters and what they do to people who harm children, because those are the innocent ones. And I said to someone that Adam Lanza person, I said he probably did himself a favor by shooting himself, because I tell you, by the time they would have got to him when in jail, I don't think he would have survived. That is the most horrific thing that I've ever seen or ever heard about. But one of the things that they were talking about on an earlier show that I thought was funny, because I said the same thing on yesterday, and that is that sometimes America, we need that shock value. Sometimes we have to do things like show the bodies. And they said that the news talked about how they had more than one gunshot on a little 6-7-year-old. And sometimes we need to see that. First of all, when I saw the pictures, it's one thing to read, Alonzo, the names and the 6 and a name and 7 years old, but to actually see the faces and to take it a step further, to actually see what had happened to them, so we can look at all of these people that are glorifying these guns, walking around with guns and all that kind of stuff in the wrong hands. What can it do and what it will do to people? Today, if you're just tuning in, our time is almost up, but this is the C. Allen Morning Show with C. Allen and Trendy Lindy. Today, we told all of our listeners that we were doing C. Allen's favorites today, giving away lots of gifts and all of my favorite things for 2012 for Christmas. But I thought we should stop and pause and remember not only the kids in Newtown, Connecticut, but also the kids all across the world. The same thing happened with all of the kids in China that got killed on the same day. And one thing Lindy said in our meeting last week, yes, one thing that you said in our meeting last week was poor Deshaun.
Yes.
Our producer from the morning show in Chicago was coming home. He was the oldest of 6 kids. He was the oldest child. His mother had 6 kids. He's the oldest child. He went out Christmas shopping for all his little brothers and sisters. And as he was putting his key in his apartment door, someone came up and tried to rob him from his items and shot him in the head, shot him dead. So we're talking about, what about the children? We're talking about the violence. We're talking about gun control. We're talking about today the importance of what are we going to do? And that's what I want to hear from you before my time is up. 1-800-450-7876. What are we going to do? You hear Lindy talk about her story. I told you a little bit about my story. And I just think it's important. I think it's important for us. To make sure that we start in our own community.
Yes. Next door, our neighbors.
Yeah, we start with our neighbors. We start with the children that are affected in our lives.
Yes.
We start with them, making sure that we give them the best, not only the best in reference to, material things, but that's not really important. The best in reference to love, education, training the kids. Attention. Give them the kind of attention that they need so they won't get it from somewhere else. So when we talk about how can we break the violence, we're talking about giving our children that tender love and care.
That's right. Each one, reach one. I mean, if you can just touch one child, that can turn a community around, a nation around. Just one child. I noticed a tremendous difference, C. Allen, when I was in school and I heard that prayer was no longer allowed in the school. When prayer was taken out and no longer allowed, really, a change came. But we must pray for our children. We have to pray for ourselves, but we have to pray for our children. It's a must. I mean, they say an idle mind is the devil's playground. So we have to pray for the kids. We got to give them a goal, find out what your child is good at, and try to stir them into a purposeful life. A lot of these young people, I don't know what the 20-year-old was doing, but a lot of them don't have a plan, a goal. They don't have anything to do. So they're reckless. They waste a lot of time.
Oh, that's good, Trendy.
They waste a lot of time because they don't have a target, anything to aim at.
That's good.
So that's one of the things that I look for in my niece and nephew. What are they good at? What do they like to do? And I try to help them, develop that area because they're going to do what's fun, what they like to do. So,
and that's really good because one of the things that I noticed with a lot of young parents would just throw them in front of the TV set with some candy or some kind of
microwavable dish.
Yeah, and put them in front of the TV, and there's so much violence on the television.
And sex and all of that on television can be really a bad babysitter. That's what it's become, a babysitter.
And one of the things that I noticed is because, again, I've been just mesmerized with Newtown, Connecticut, and I noticed how the kids were so advanced at that age of 6 and 7. Because I'm an educator, and I noticed, and I'm a teacher. I have a master's degree in education administration. From a master's degree in education administration from Howard University, HU, but anyway. And I was just noticing about how well advanced they were in reference to the little black girl who was singing the gospel song, the videos that they shown in reference to. They talked about how they would read and how one of the little girls would try to be a leader for her little teeny sisters, and you know what I'm saying, and just how advanced they were in reference to the educational piece. I just believe, everyone, that in order to stop the violence, in order to break the cycle, it starts with working with everyone that come in our midst. There's some people here that's listening to me that have a little kid in the neighborhood that that's troubled. There's some people that's listening to me that know that they have a niece or nephew that that they need assistance. And what I mean by stuff like that, it's about, let's have a little talk, Johnny. I can remember little talks that my teachers had with me when I was young. I can still remember that 20-some years later. So it's about how can we reach out. It's about being in the community, for the community, with the community. We have to go back to that. It took a village to raise a child. Yes. Now you scared to say something to that little nasty little girl coming down the street because you know her mama nasty, grandmama nasty, and they gonna get ready to go off on you. I wish you would say something to little Sabrina. I slap the devil, all that kind of stuff. We got to let all of that kind of stuff go, because one thing that we have to remember, Alonzo and Trinity, what we have to remember, there are a lot of people that's preying on these little kids too.
That's right.
So when they see little fast Sabrina coming down the street, next thing you know is they're trying to come up in their head what they can do with little fast Sabrina.
And little fast Sabrina done ate that McDonald's, and she's more developed than, you know, the average child used to be that age.
And you know what, our time is up, but you know what, Trendy, do you know, and this is really bad, do you know that the statistics on sexually abused children in the poor ghetto neighborhoods is just stifling?
I believe that. I believe it.
It's stifling because they go after the kids with the mamas. That's why I tell some of my stylists, why are you working 10, 12 hours a day? Go home to your children.
That's right. That's right.
And we do so much so we can try to get all the material things for the children, but a lot of times the only thing the children want is a hug. Only thing they need is some love. They want mom. Listen, don't just go through the drive-through. Go into the McDonald's and sit down and talk to little Lindy and find out how your day went. Yes. All those kind of things. That's what's important when we talk about how can we break the violence. If you know that you got a no good man, you need to get rid of the no good man, not just for yourself but for your daughter, so she won't expect or to think that that is how a relationship is supposed to be.
Amen.
All right, everyone, listen. My time is up, but listen, we have an early bird special every Saturday at the Sea Island Signature Salon from 7 to 10. It's $25 for a regular, 7 to 10 on Saturdays. But for those of you who please bring a toy over to the Bennett Career Institute for our toy drive so we can be a blessing at Berry Farms on Monday. If you cannot give a toy, call Rashawn right now, 202-526-1400, extension 42. My time is up. All right, everybody, and Trendy Lindy, remember, pamper yourself because it's your duty.
Because you are worth it.
Have a good week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.